Their last quarter was a decent quarter, but the quarter looking forward, their first fiscal quarter, is not going to be a great quarter, and that's really just given the uncertainty that is being driven by the tariffs. So, they're seeing weakness in their B2B business, they're seeing weakness in their industrial kind of end markets, and they're obviously seeing some weakness for volumes that are coming out of China into the United States. So, these are kind of the headwinds that they're facing. FedEx is doing what it can. It has a couple of initiatives where it's trying to take permanent costs out of its network, because at the end of the day, the company is transitioning from one that used to be B2B, business to business, is mostly, the growth really is B2C, so that e-commerce business, which is more expensive to deliver. So what they're trying to do is create a more efficient network. And unfortunately for them, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes a long time. And this is a kind of a journey that they've been going through for the last couple of years.
Here's what was confusing to me is that UPS did the same thing, like in the last quarter. Like they were like, it's uncertain, we don't know what's going to happen. FedEx did the same thing, but the stock got really punished in after hours. And I appreciate it's just down 2% now, but why wasn't this already baked into the stock?
That's a good question. I was thinking about getting uncertain tattooed on my forehead because I say it so much. But
don't do that. That's going to hurt.
Or probably spell it wrong too. And what the reality is the stop and go and stop of the tariffs are making it very difficult for not only businesses to operate but consumers. You saw the other day consumer confidence came in below expectations. So the tariffs are really having an impact on volumes. Once we get more, I think really what businesses really need to know is kind of what are the rules of the road, and then they can operate within those rules. But the stop and go aspects of the tariffs can be really confusing and disruptive to supply chains, which is obviously, FedEx and UPS, their core to move that freight around the world.
When you look at FedEx businesses, what's their exposure to China? How are they exposed to China?
Well, they're exposed on their express businesses, so they fly things from all over around Asia, and obviously China is the largest aspect of that to the United States. It could be anything from commercial goods to consumer goods. So they do have a decent exposure. One of the other things that FedEx does is they're in the less than truckload business, which also came in a little below expectations, and that's been a tough business that's really kind of geared towards that industrial economy. So when you see the ISM being in contraction territory for 29 of the last 31 months, that's really weighing on that business. And FedEx does plan on spinning out that business sometime next year.
So what's the right question then to be asking for a FedEx and a UPS at this point? Because as you point out rightly, the uncertainty trade for transports is definitely front and center. Like no one's going to have a firm outlook. So what's the next question?
I guess the next question is, how are you restructuring your networks to be able to handle the more expensive home deliveries that we're all accustomed to? So, we're all accustomed to free shipping, when you order something online. How are they going to facilitate that at the lowest cost they possibly can? Because they face competition, the FedEx and UPSs of the world. They face competition from local players, from gig economies, from the U.S. Postal Service. And so they really need to, bend that cost curve lower to be able to drive better margins. And UPS and FedEx have been, again, trying to restructure their networks. And I guess the real question is, when is it going to end, and when can we see margins start improving?